Should you change your life and make less money to be happier? If you're asking this question, know that you're not alone, nor are you alone in hesitating, especially if you already have a job that pays well, with benefits, possibly a fancy title and whatnot. It can seem like you're being ungrateful or just overall silly. Everyone else wants more, why would you go in the opposite direction, right? I was back in my home country of Singapore recently, all bright lights, big city, a consumerism-focused culture. The ethos in Singapore is definitely to strive for more. Nicer salary, bigger house, nicer car, etc. It's just such a huge contrast to the life I've actually chosen. So about 10 years ago, at the age of 29, I quit my corporate career and downsized my lifestyle massively so I could have more time and pursue a healthy and meaningful life, albeit a frugal one. Anyway, today I thought I'll do a little roundup about the pros and cons about forsaking the money chase and living simply. A lot of the cons to choosing this lifestyle is pretty obvious, starting with number 1, the necessary downgrade of your lifestyle habits to adapt to your new bank balance. Stuff like where you go to eat and chill with friends, how often you do it. Careless splurging is of course no longer something I could afford. This was across all aspects of my life, but to be honest though, I barely felt the pain of these cutbacks. As it turned out, things really didn't matter much to me, so as long as I have decent clothes to wear and a safe roof over my head, it didn't really pain me that I'm carrying a plastic bag instead of Chanel, or that I'm taking the bus instead of driving my own car. It wasn't bad, it was just different, and really I liked feeling more grounded and connected to the people around me, as opposed to before where I had money but very little time, so I was always just rushing about. Number 2. It restricts where I travel to and in what style. One of the motivations for me choosing to change my life and make less money is so I have the freedom to travel. But it also meant that the nature of travel altered permanently for me. Instead of trips to pricey destinations like Europe, the US or Japan, it's mostly developing destinations for me these days. Instead of staying at the Ritz, my accommodation is more likely to be humble lodgings in a range of tens of dollars a night. On the flip side though, instead of having 28 paid days off a year, for the past decade, I've mostly changed countries every few months and seen a lot more of the world in that time than I would have otherwise. Instead of glancing through places in a matter of days, I get to stay in a new destination and really live and observe and appreciate its culture, the people and the food. Plus, personally, I find developing destinations much more interesting anyway. So for me, overall, not a poor trade-off, I say. Number 3, going low income can be mentally and emotionally stressful. Having a smaller buffer between you and being broke can definitely make you anxious. That's especially more so for me, as Singaporean who grew up being taught that having large financial buffers is extremely important and desirable. So yeah, well, I was basically freaking out inside my head for many years. I still do, to be honest. But over the years, exposure to different ways of life and different cultures also put a lot of things in perspective for me. I mean, not every other person makes $20,000 a month, but most people still live happy and fulfilling lives, full of activities, friends and family, even kids, and they still make ends meet. As a more practical solution to tackling the financial stress, I force myself to be financially aware and in control of my affairs as much as I can, even though it's not something that comes naturally to me. I also remind myself that I've had a great education, great work experiences, good ethics and attitude, so as long as I behave sensibly, I should always be able to make ends meet, no matter how. Number 4, if you have big life plans in mind, like making a big trip around the world, having kids or buying a house, making less money will of course delay this. Kind of stating the obvious, but you just have to consider if the trade-off you may receive in terms of the freedom and perhaps fulfilling other dreams using that freedom is worth it. Number 5, society's perceptions can hurt if you're sensitive. I just don't let what other people say bother me much in general, since I'm really happy with my life on a daily basis, and what people say is really irrelevant to that. And now that we're done with the cons, here's the reasons why I have no regrets, a decade into choosing to make less money and live simpler. Number 1, Simplification frees you from complex decision making, freeing up time in your life for more meaningful stuff. When you have loads of money, it translates to loads of options and choices. You can always buy more, even stuff you might not necessarily need, and you can always buy better. All that then means that you're spending a larger proportion of your life on consumer decisions, researching, gathering information, comparing, making choices, etc., etc. It may sound ridiculous, but when I was back in Singapore, I found making any single purchasing decision incredibly painful and fraught with decision paralysis. Even little things like buying a mascara. There's waterproof, ultra waterproof, brown, black, ultra black, best for Asian lashes, curling power, lengthening, thickening, and whatnot. The list just went on, and it really made me want to crack my head open. On the other hand, when you don't have lots of money, you really just buy what you need, and price limitations usually means limited options. I adopt the mentality that I'm happy with what I get, so long as it fulfills its basic function. All that means I get to skip all that complex decision making, which in turn saves me time that I can instead spend relaxing and petting my dog or something. It's absolutely a personal choice, though I know many people who enjoy the money side of things and the whole consumerism process. Number 2, I'm no longer weighed down by the burden of material possessions. Having lots of things or having expensive things can quickly translate into the things you own, owning you instead. How much time do you spend caring for your possessions, like cleaning your car, organizing all the clothes in your wardrobe, even earning the money to service the mortgage on that luxury house? Or how emotionally invested are you in those branded sneakers and watches that represent who you are, and how you have to be careful to maintain these possessions so that they don't get scratched or dirty? Really, leaving all that stuff behind means I don't spend my day worrying that the Porsche is going to get keyed because I parked it in a public spot. And anytime I decide I want to travel somewhere, my life fits easily into a luggage plus a backpack. And I'm good to go. Number 3, it's deepened all the relationships in my life with the people who truly matter. The hardest adjustment in terms of choosing to intentionally make less money was that I could no longer splurge on my friends and family like I used to. It's wonderful to be able to be generous to your friends and family because money is no object, even if you have to rush back to work at the office straight after the meal. These days though, instead of treats and gifts, I express love and appreciation through spending quality time and loving action, like cooking dinner for friends at home instead of going out to a nice place. We all still have a nice time together anyway, and it's actually created stronger bonds between me and my people. And the last, but the most important, number 4, it's forced me to learn to be far more mentally resilient and financially savvy than I would be otherwise. And these are lifelong important skills that just keep on giving. Spending money carelessly when you have lots of it is easy. Being financially savvy and in control of your finances is far more challenging. Going low income while trying to remain financially independent and responsible is what forced me to learn how to be smart about making, spending, and investing money. Lessons I wouldn't have learned if I was still busy lawyering. Learning to cope with the transitions and the ups and downs through life in the past decade also gave me loads of mental resilience and made me understand myself so much better. Eventually, the combination of these things also led me to pursue FIRE as a goal. And now, 10 years in, I'm actually early retired and living my dream life in Bali. Back when I was still lawyering, I never thought this would be possible before 40. A really popular marketing slogan these days is YOLO, you only live once. But when I was looking around myself in Singapore, it really started to make me think, is it that I only live once, so that's why I need to spend this and buy that to make my life happier? Or is it that I only live once, so I need to make better choices, more conscious choices in alignment with my values and true beliefs? And instead of chasing pointless consumerism rabbits down each hole, I should truly consider how I want to make and spend money in my life so I can truly live life on my own terms. People might say things like I'm being unambitious or that this is a choice I'll regret later in life, but I don't think so. I feel like to a certain extent, in terms of those conventional beliefs about success, I did achieve. And their beliefs were false promises because my success didn't actually make me happy. As to whether or not I'll be regretting my current path later in life, I guess only time will tell. I'm hoping that the formula of being a good person, generally being sensible, and always giving whatever I'm doing my best shot will carry me happily to my life's end. I'm betting my life on that belief. But for you, there's no inherently right or wrong answer. You just have to be brave and make the decision that's right for yourself. I just hope that what I've shared here can give you some food for thought and help you move in the right direction. Well, that's it for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to click the like button and to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next Saturday. Bye!